Good evening, everybody. My name is Max, and today we're going to take another look at the 2022 US Senate elections with the updated fallout of the California gubernatorial recall election. Now, unlike in my prediction videos, this video is going to be one where we focus more on the reasons of why I believe a race will go a certain way rather than why or which way a certain race is defined to go to. I'm not going to make any clear predictions in this video, but I want you to get at least somewhat of a clue of what's going on within the individual races. And I think we should start. I think we're going to go through from east to west. Now, I don't believe that we're going to make every single race that will be somewhat competitive today, but it is going to be a good start. And I think we should start with New Hampshire. And in New Hampshire, the incumbent is Maggie Hassan. She has a declared primary challenger. Oh no, that's not a primary challenger. That's a already declared Republican challenger, and she doesn't seem to be having any. Does she have Democratic opposition? Wait a second. Nope. Apparently she doesn't. Apparently the only candidates running against her are Republicans, and she's been endorsed by a number of by one executive official, by Kamala Harris, and by a few organizations. While on the other hand, on the Republican side, there are not really too many interesting candidates, with one exception, and that is Chris Sununu, the incumbent governor of New Hampshire. Now, Chris Sununu is a significant candidate for this race simply because of the fact that he won pretty big in his last election, but let's just look up the election. Where is it? Alright, here we can see it. Chris Sununu was up for re-election last year because in New Hampshire they elect the governor every 2 years, and he won by a margin of 65.1% to 33.4%. And that's always an impressive margin. It is a good margin no matter where, unless you're in a very deep red state like Wyoming. But it's even more impressive for a swing state, especially if the Republican who's running in that election isn't even all that much of a liberal Republican. He's a moderate, but he's not a rhino or somebody who would only nominally be called a Republican. Now, of course, I'm not evaluating anybody's positions, but there are Republicans who are basically Democrats in everything but name. However, Chris Sununu is not one of them, and the fact that he won by such a big margin is quite considerable for that. Anyway, now let's get back to what actually interests us, which is the Senate race. And if Chris Sununu runs, who has a very high approval rating, won very big last time, against a relatively unknown candidate such as Maggie Hassan, then I believe it would be pretty evident, or pretty obvious, I should say, that Chris Sununu is going to win. And that can be confirmed by hypothetical polling. Chris Sununu is up in every single potential poll against Maggie Hassan by quite significant numbers. If he was going to run, he'd probably win. However, if he doesn't, then I think the odds are in favor of Hassan. Now, I think we're going to do another one. And after New Hampshire, there should come Pennsylvania. Now, I could talk about the Senate election in my home state of Vermont, but it's basically a foregone conclusion. Patrick Leahy is going to win. Phil Scott could run, but I don't think he's going to, because federal office is always different than statewide office. Believe me, I'm from there. Anyway, now let's look at Pennsylvania. And this is an interesting one, because the primary field on both the Republican and Democratic side are very, very crowded. The most nominal candidates on the Republican side are probably, I thought Sean Parnell was in here. I can't see him, though. Really, he's not in here. This is quite impressive. He's not there. I thought he had declared himself. Nope, he's not running. There were a bunch of YouTubers who said that he was going to run, but apparently that's not the case. Now, for those of you who don't know, Sean Parnell was a candidate for Yeah, here he is, Sean Parnell. But why does his name not show up? Can you see it? Anyway, Sean Parnell, as you can see here, he was a candidate for a congressional race in Western Pennsylvania against Connor Lamb in his district. He ended up making it much closer than it was expected to be by most news outlets. However, he was also giving a speaking slot at the RNC, so that probably helped his campaign. Anyway, there are a bunch of Republicans who are running. None of them really have a very high profile. Ryan Costello, you could say, who is a former U.S. representative, more of a moderate, he had to leave Congress because his district was redistricted, and that basically made it impossible for him to win again. Yeah, but it really surprises me that Sean Parnell's not on the running list. I really expected him to run. Anyway. Now, on the Democratic side, though, we got a bunch of very, very well-known people. The most well-known ones will probably be John Fetterman, the lieutenant governor, Malcolm Kenyatta, a state representative, and Connor Lamb. Now, all these three candidates are quite distinguishable. Fetterman's more of a progressive Democrat like Sanders. Malcolm Kenyatta is more of a established moderate Democrat, an establishment Dem, while Connor Lamb is a non-far left populist Democrat, somebody who will use strong working class messaging, but who isn't a full-out Bernie Sanders. He's still more to the center than Fetterman, for example. And the race will go down between these three. I'm not trying to... I'm saying something bad about these two people here on the top right and top left. Nobody knows him. They're already lost. And John Fetterman has a few labor unions and organizations who endorsed him. Malcolm Kenyatta has a couple of endorsements, but Connor Lamb really got the most. He has labor unions, he has state legislatures, he has local officials and everything. It makes sense. After all, he is the only one who's ever been elected to national office. He has already a congressional district in Western Pennsylvania. And if Fetterman or Lamb would end up getting the nomination, where they do best in is the western part of the state. You know? Here, in the Pittsburgh area, that is where they do well. That's where Lamb's district is. That's where Fetterman's from. If Kenyatta runs, though, he'd do better in the Philly suburbs, with lots of legacy Republicans who switched to the Democrats in more recent election cycles. And in my last Senate election prediction video, I rated this race as tilt Republican because I believe the national environment to be heavily favoring the Republicans in a way so they'd be able to pull it off. But the California recall election ended up being a much more decisive victory for Newsom, and I think I'd actually have to reconsider my opinion on this. I believe the Democrats are favored right now because they got better candidates. But if Sean Parnell was to run, he'd definitely have a chance. Even a Democratic internal poll shows him ahead of Connor Lamb, for example. But again, it really surprises me that Sean Parnell is not on the list here. Maybe I'm just an idiot and couldn't see him. If you saw him here, please let me know in the comment section down below. But it really looks like he's not on the list. I think Wikipedia probably made a mistake here. Anyway, those are the first two Senate races. I believe we'll cover more tomorrow morning or tomorrow evening. And other than that, you could also write me some suggestions for new videos. That's always greatly appreciated, along with a like and potentially a subscription. I really hope to see all of you guys next time, and have a good night. I'm your friend. Max says goodbye.